What it do, YouTube? It's your boy LTD back with another video, and today I'm gonna be checking out Wrestling Flashbacks' his most recent video, 10 WWE wrestlers who hated their wrestling match. Now, listen, as fans, we understand why we love our matches and love the matches that we watch growing up, especially at WrestleMania, because there's a lot of WrestleMania classics. But there are some wrestlers that aren't the biggest fans of them. So we're going to see right now some wrestlers that weren't the biggest fan of the match. Hey, we might have been fans of it, but the wrestlers, not too much. So let's check it out.
1, 2, is this on?
WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year, so there's an added incentive for talent to go all out. Inevitably though, things can always go wrong.
Oh, I know how you can do it. Take the worst power bomb in the history of fucking pro wrestling for the finish.
And over the years, some matches have got messed up on the grandest stage, perhaps due to an injury, botched finish, or a malfunction.
The mask was made out of like a latex material, but it kept unbuttoning from the bottom. See, throughout the whole match, I'm fixing my mask and I'm strapping it back on. It was just a pain.
For this video, we'll be listing various examples, featuring stories from the wrestlers themselves.
I knew it was going to be a disaster, and I've always felt that was my least greatest match. But I don't blame Bob, I don't blame myself, I blame Vince.
Today we highlight 10 WrestleMania undercard matches that went wrong.
Well, I don't know. He should have said something to somebody if he had a problem with it. I mean, Bobby himself, he's just a two-faced bastard.
Wrestling Kane in 2002 was Kurt Angle's forgotten WrestleMania match in some respects. Despite his strong first 2 years in WWF, Angle wasn't figured into main event plans for the Show of Shows 18th installment. Rumored opponents such as Sting and Bret Hart never materialized. On his podcast, Kurt discussed his frustrations with the creative going into Mania.
I thought I deserved a pretty good feature match at WrestleMania, and to this point, a month before WrestleMania, they didn't have anything for me.
Oh wow, man, we're starting off with an ad.
Gaza is at the tipping point.
Another reason Angle vs Kane isn't remembered by fans is due to it being an average contest, especially by Kurt's standards. The bout was topped off by the botched ending, which saw roll-up go awry.
This was a great match though, I checked it out.
Kurt wasn't crazy about the roll-up spot to begin with, and would have rathered a more decisive finish, especially since there wasn't going to be a rematch.
I think because we got our time cut, about 3 or 4 minutes, and we had to rush to the finish, and the finish wasn't that good. What the agents came up with, and the whole concept of no ankle lock, no tap out, no angle slam for a finish. Let's do a quick one, you know, a roll up and put your feet on the ropes to cheat the win. It got really complicated, and the finish didn't turn out as good as they were expecting.
Were there any plans to continue the storyline with Kane, or was this meant to be the blow-off of the feud?
What do you think? This was put together all at the last second. I don't think this was going to be a long-running program.
It
was just for one day.
Given their legendary feud in WCW, fans had...
But I actually checked out this match. This was a really good match, I ain't gonna lie. But I understand Kurt's point because he was already like a made guy in the WWE. Kane also, and they both feel like they deserve to be higher on the card, like to compete in a bigger match. And it was crazy that Kurt Angle was almost about to face Bret Hart or Sting. Either of those matches would have been great. But we obviously know the relationship between Bret Hart and WWE. You know, the Montreal Screwjob. And Sting not coming back to the WWE or coming to the WWE. Yeah, that was a huge loss too.
High expectations for Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero's clash at WrestleMania 21. This was a great way to open the show, but it could have been better if not for a wardrobe malfunction. It was still a fine contest, but Mysterio regrets the choice of mask he went with on the night.
Mask was a little tight, and I had a button right here. Instead of the Velcro, I had a button that snapped on. As soon as we locked up, went into a headlock, and that button came undone and my mask started moving around. And I was like, oh, this is not good. You know, I tried to work as much as I could without paying too much attention to it. But there's no denying that it was bothering me.
Ray had to constantly keep readjusting it so it didn't come loose. Ray was fixing the mask after nearly every move, doing so around 70 times in 12 minutes.
The mask was made out of like a latex material. This is the first time he had done something like that. But it kept unbuttoning from the bottom. And if you see throughout the whole match, I'm fixing my mask and I'm strapping it back on. And it was just a pain. Like, I think about that happening to me now, at my age, I'd freak out. Back then, I don't know how I handled it.
Naturally, this affected his performance. For this reason, Mysterio refers to it as his least favorite mask.
Especially knowing Eddie, how he was. Always said that it could have been better. And he's probably right. You know, it could have been better if it wasn't for my mask. It was just one of those nights.
Speaking of least favorites, Bret Hart's least favorite match.
Yeah, man, because we all know Rey Mysterio, if his mask comes off, man, even though some people know what he looks like, but we all know, majority of the fans, we all know we prefer Rey Mysterio with his mask on, like part of the whole lucha thing. So yeah, it was a solid match though, and they also had a great feud too. Great feud.
Was at WrestleMania 11 against Bob Backlund. The Hitman felt the I Quit stipulation was too hard to pull off due to Backlund's limitations.
Submission matches, I'd had one with Bob Backlund at WrestleMania 11, I think. It was the worst match I ever had in my career. No offense to Bob Backlund, but it was just
submission matches are hard.
They suck.
Bret much preferred he and Backlund's encounter at Survivor Series the previous year. The Mania encounter, however, Bret considers a dud, as heard on the Masked Man podcast.
I knew it was going to be a disaster. And I've always felt that was my least greatest match. But I don't blame Bob. I don't blame myself. I blame Vince, for the guy that came up with the concept for the match. And it was a dud before we walked out. And so, I mean, I feel bad that we didn't have a great match.
The match is remembered for the odd finish, where Bob didn't even officially quit. He just screamed into the microphone.
Did he say it?
Wow.
In his audiobook, Bret explained the reason for.
So, if somebody just screams, that means they quit? What the hell was that? He didn't even say, I quit.
Bob was specifically supposed to say, I quit. But with the painful hold cutting off his hair, Roddy finally had no choice but to ring the bell and declare me the winner. This was, without a doubt, my worst pay-per-view match ever.
Ultimate Warrior defending the Intercontinental title against Rick Rude at WrestleMania 5 was full of botches. Firstly, the Warrior went barreling into the ropes after losing his grip of Rude.
Rude, the hours and hours they spent together in the gym. Oh, look at that! Dumped him!
For the finish, Rick landed on his head after a suplex reversal went haywire.
Look at Heenan! Grabs the leg of the Warrior!
Warrior got his revenge on Bobby Heenan after the bell. However, the brain fell awkwardly following a botched press slam. Heenan wasn't happy with Warrior afterward due to his lack of care when slamming him. Upon being confronted by Bobby about it backstage, the Warrior quipped, I never know what I'm gonna do.
He just doesn't know how to do anything to you. He's dangerous. He didn't care about press timing. He didn't care about how he picked you up or where he went. Honestly, he press timing me and then walked away from me and let me drop on my face.
Well, I don't know. He should have said something to somebody if he had a problem with it. I mean, I never went out to the ring to try to hurt anybody or anything like that. Bobby himself, well, he's just a two-faced bastard. He always has been in the business.
What do you remember about Bobby talking about this? He couldn't have been happy.
Nobody was happy taking that bump from Warrior.
Yeah.
It was painful.
Yeah.
Him grabbing you him touching you was painful. I think that the frustration was that, you go out there and you give your body for someone and they treat your body recklessly. You could tell that Warrior just didn't, he couldn't get him up.
Sometimes an injury can effectively spell the end of one's WWE career, or in Rick Boogs, his entire wrestling career. It wasn't necessarily due to the severity of the injury, it was more a case of Creative not having anything for Boogs once he returned following a regime change. Prior to that, he'd been an entertaining act with Shinsuke Nakamura on SmackDown throughout 2021. They got their big moment as a duo when they challenged the Usos for the tag titles at WrestleMania 38. Boogs' standout spot in the match was to see him lift both Usos on his shoulders. However, Rick's leg gave out on him as he collapsed to the mat in pain.
Boogs looking right at Jay's brother Jimmy, and Jimmy's caught his hold. Oh, they got him down too much in the knee.
An audible was called and Nakamura worked the rest of the match alone as Jimmy and Jay retained their belts.
The biggest moment of my career, I'll come crashing down.
Going into the match, I didn't really warm up that well, and then I was supposed to open the match, which kind of like going through the motions to start a match kind of gets you warmed up. You know what I mean? But they, for whatever reason, cut it short, so I just did the hot tag to run the comeback. Pretty much ice cold. Got in that same position. The guy jumped on my back, and I took that step back, so it was like really quad dominantly loaded, and it just ripped the patellar tendon off both sides of the bone and ripped it all the way through.
Yeah.
So three, I don't even know how it's possible, with 3 full tears of the tendon.
Boogs ended up suffering a torn quad, which kept him out of action for 9 months. Rick didn't have much going on once he returned the next January. He made only sporadic appearances before being fired in September 2023. Boogs stepped away from the ring altogether following his release. The injury and regime change really halted his momentum to where he couldn't get it back. Money in the Bank ladder matches can be quite chaotic with—
Yeah, man, that's so unfortunate, man. Yep. One injury could change your whole entire career. And it could change the whole format of your entire career as well. Hope he's doing well, man. Yeah, but I remember that injury, man. And the Usos weigh like a combined like 400 some pounds. Yeah, that's a lot of weight.
so many moving parts. The one at WrestleMania 26 had a record 10 wrestlers in it. This meant the likelihood for botches increased. However, nothing went wrong until the finish. The winner, Jack Swagger, spent 20 seconds trying to take the briefcase from its hook. It was hilarious watching him struggle for what must have felt like an eternity up there.
Wait for it to stop swinging. Jack's slow. Here we go. He can't unhook it. He's having trouble. Cannot do it.
God damn it, take this fucking hook the damn briefcase.
Jack Swagger moments away. There's no one else in the ring. Can he seize the opportunity? He's done it.
It might have been easier if he stepped up on another rung, but his size coupled with balancing on the ladder likely prevented him from doing so. Swagger cashed in and won the world title the very next week. His reign received criticism from fans, but perhaps he was snake bit from the start following his difficulty in unlocking the briefcase at Mania. Another botched ending on the grandest stage.
Who remember when Jack Swagger was World Heavyweight Champion? I for sure as hell don't. Hell, most of y'all don't even remember him holding that World Heavyweight title. Like, for real. If I don't, you don't for sure. Maybe some people do. But to be honest, I forgot he was totally World Heavyweight Champion. Like, for real.
At WrestleMania 11, when Diesel retained the WWF title against Shawn Michaels. The match itself was tremendous and didn't go wrong until the finish. Shawn went into the bout upset because he wasn't going over and they weren't the main event, hence why HBK did his best to tire Diesel out.
He did have a chip on his shoulder, big time. He felt that they should have been on last. He felt that he just felt that he was the best one there, and he was going to show everyone that he was the best one there.
All anyone remember about Diesel's championship match at WrestleMania was Shawn Michaels, which was clearly what Shawn intended all along. I immediately knew that Shawn had played him.
Kevin Nash spoke about this in an interview provided by Title Match Wrestling.
Shawn wanted the belt. Shawn was going to, he was going to try to outperform me. And I knew he was going to go. And I knew he was going to try to do a pace that would blow me up. He would always tell me and Scott, Scott, I'm twice as good as you. Kev, I'm 3 times as good as you.
The finish saw Michaels land on his butt for the jackknife powerbomb. Again, Nash felt the Heartbreak Kid had ulterior motives with this awkward bump.
And Diesel now with Shawn Michaels in!
Kevin reflected on the match while talking to kayfabe commentaries.
And then we got out and got tied up in all those fucking press and had to fight through them to get to the spot. In fact, we went back in and I was just like, oh man, we got like 24 left and I'm gone. Everybody knew that fucking Shawn was lobbying for that spot. And it was just like, that's great, but guess what? When you go through the fucking airport, I'm still the biggest guy. Still think it's a big man sport. You gotta convince him. Oh, I know how you can do it. Take the worst power bomb in the history of fucking pro wrestling for the finish. Shawn could fucking stand and take a power bomb without anybody giving it to him better than he took the one in that match.
The Hardcore Title Battle Royal was the get everyone...
Yeah, for those who don't know about HBK in the 90s, he wasn't really liked back then, for real. He was kind of an asshole. Like, for real. For multiple documentaries and multiple stories, HBK, he wasn't the most liked guy backstage. Granted, he's changed, he became a much better person, but back then, he was public enemy #1. Like, for real.
On the card match at WrestleMania 2000. Nevertheless, it was a logical addition to the show, given the belt's new 24/7 stipulation. The Mania match was a fun brawl that ended in disaster. The story was that Crash Holly would always squeak away with the hardcore belt against all odds, and this was due to happen again on the grandest stage. The clock was supposed to strike 0 just before the 3 count was made. However, referee Tim White mistimed his count. Meanwhile, the announcers claimed Crash kicked out even though he hadn't.
Dang. Shit out of him.
Hey, it's Ashley with 4 Patriots. We're in a bit of trouble. To put it plainly, We need to clear out some
Yes,
space.
I know YouTube Premium.
Afterward, Tim got
Yes,
chewed
I
out by
know.
Vince McMahon for failing to sync his count with the timer. The problem was White had agents in his earpiece counting down the clock, which threw him off.
Why would you have a confusing ending to a nothing happening match? Why can't someone just go over and win the game?
Crash explained what happened in an interview provided by Title Match Wrestling.
The actual finish is supposed to be Taz hooks me in Taz mission. Bob comes in and hits him with the glass thing. Bob covers me. 1, 2, time goes out. Right? What actually happened was Timmy, I don't know, Timmy felt so bad too. Timmy White, it's like he's listening in the earpiece and he's watching the clock. It seems like it's two different things.
Despite winning the hardcore title, Bob Holly was none too pleased afterward. Be it kayfabe or not, his post-match interview had to be edited off all replays of the show due to swearing.
Because I will break your ass in half, you little shithead.
I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, for that remark. That was a very classless remark.
Chris Jericho versus Fandango from WrestleMania 29 was one
I
of those
remember this
instances where
feud
Vince
right
aimed to
here.
purposely rile up the fans. He wanted the crowd to boo and jeer mercilessly due to Fandango's upset win. This was the character's debut match, in which he got the win over a top star in Jericho. In his fourth book, No is a four-letter word, Chris described McMahon's thinking in booking the bout.
I told Vince that nobody in the audience would buy Fandango beating me clean, but that was precisely what he was counting on. That's what I want. I'd be thrilled if 75,000 people started chanting bullshit at the finish. The less they buy it, the better. I really want to piss them off. I was still a little pissed off myself, but now that I knew the finish and understood the reason for it, I hunkered down and strategized on how to make the best of it.
It proved to be a good contest, but things fell apart at the end. Chris overshot the Lion Salt, which was meant to go into the walls of Jericho. The issue was that Fandango was too close to the ropes.
Lion Salt! Jericho going for the walls!
Jericho's
Little
attempt at the walls would be
miscommunication.
countered into a roll-up for the 3. However, Y2J bent down and put himself in position to be pinned. The announcers claimed Chris did something to his knee, but he didn't sell it initially because of the botched Lion Salt.
He did something to his left knee, and Fandango trying to take advantage. He got him! He got him! Oh my God!
I thought that Fandango was too close to the ropes for the Quebrada. I know that Jericho had to he had to do an overshot spot, but he really overshot him. And I know what they were trying to do, and it didn't work out right.
It was a sloppy finish, but the crowd reacted strongly for the unexpected victory. Fandango began to receive babyface reactions to his entrance music, which kick-started the next night on Raw. However, he was kept heel for another 2 years. Certain female matches at the Show of Shows have had some hiccups over the years. Fans remember the botched ending to WrestleMania 35's main event, featuring Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch. However, Becky wasn't the only Irish woman whose many a match went wrong. For our last example, we go all the way back to WrestleMania 2, where Irish-born Velvet McIntyre challenged the Fabulous Moolah for the women's title. We spoke about Rey Mysterio's mask mishap earlier, but McIntyre vs Moolah featured another Mania wardrobe malfunction. The bout ended after barely 90 seconds, when Velvet's top became exposed, jumping from the top rope. This forced the ladies to call an audible and immediately finished the match. McIntyre saved face by putting her feet on the ropes, thus setting up a series of rematches down the line.
There's that tremendous ring experience. 1, 2, it's all over.
Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our similar video of 10 times cameras called WWE.
Yeah, man, this was a pretty solid video. I'm gonna give it a like. Make sure y'all subscribe to Wrestling Flashbacks. Yep, I subscribe to them right now. But yeah, this was an interesting video. Yeah, like I said, us fans, we could be fans of the match itself. But if the wrestlers aren't the biggest fan of their own match, yeah. Even though maybe some of these matches were pretty solid and some of them were pretty mediocre, like the Kane and Kurt Angle match, that was a pretty good match. But it was probably because they felt like they should have been in a bigger match, like a higher card match. But this is the only thing they got for real. And then the Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero match, that was a pretty solid match too. But obviously Rey didn't like it because he didn't like how his mask kept coming off or something like that. So yeah, us fans and us wrestlers, we might have a different opinion on what match we like or dislike. So to be honest, we could respect some of these wrestlers about their own opinion and not be like on social media talking about what the hell they're talking about. Yeah, don't take it that far. Just respect their opinion and move on. That's it. But comment down below what y'all think about this video. Make sure y'all like, subscribe to my channel. Make sure y'all follow me on all my social media platforms. This your boy Lil Trey D signing out. Peace.